So last year I saw the original Star Wars trilogy on the big screen, and it had me thinking about the films in a bit of a different way. The excitement of the lights going down and the experience starting was just so magical. It made me think that those opening moments are a bit of an underrated and under-discussed part of each Star Wars movie. Now, I don't mean the opening crawls. If I wanted to look at words, I would just read a book. I mean, once the stage is set with the iconic logos and the long time ago and all that yellow yapping, the first scenes of actual Star Wars are a film's opportunity to make a great first impression. I saw a tweet asking about them recently, and it just made me realise how much deliberation must go into each of these scenes, especially now that Star Wars movies are being made by Star Wars fans. Once you get past the development hell that most of these projects end up in and start your movie, you have to figure out how to start your movie. You realistically only get one shot at adding something to this series of immortalised images. You better make it count, and you should probably put a Star Destroyer in it. So I thought it would be fun to go through each of the Star Wars opening scenes and consider what makes a good one, what makes a bad one, and how they compare to one another. Well, I thought it would be fun for me at least. I hope you also enjoy it. Who doesn't love a ranking? Just call me Watch Mojo Brennan. Okay, off we go. In last place, we have The Rise of Skywalker. Now, if you can remember this scene, then you're probably thinking, yeah, fair enough. And if you can't remember this scene, then yeah, fair enough. By this point in the trilogy, they were clearly done even pretending to have ideas. And I don't mean once we're actually down on Mustafar. I'm not limiting all of these to just the first shot, but I think cutting down to a planet, that's kind of when these first moments end. So I'm just talking about what it's doing there. And it's doing nothing. It's nothing. The most interesting thing it has going for it is how the stars disappear and we move into complete darkness as we look at Mustafar, but there's no idea here beyond that. It seems uninterested in itself, which is a strange way for the final movie in the saga to be. You'd think there'd be this awareness of the legacy of these images, but I suppose they were just rushing ahead to get to all the good stuff later on. In 10th place, we have The Phantom Menace. This one also doesn't seem particularly interested in itself, which again is weird because it was the first Star Wars after a very long gap, but it's very brisk. It just wants to get on with things, I suppose. In that way, pretty commendable. It's efficient. It tells you that the Jedi are on the way to the blockade. There's the Jedi, there's the blockade. The opening crawl always gets made fun of for being about trade and tax, and everyone says, oh, just how boring that is. It's definitely a format that works a lot better when you're right in the middle of the action, because when you're showing the movie that is the origin of a conflict, it kind of has to start before the conflict, and in that way you kind of have to forgive the opening moments for being a bit dull, or at least by comparison. But I suppose it looks nice enough. Naboo as a backdrop is very pretty. I think on a rewatch I'm likely to take the prequel designs for granted, but this at the time was all new Star Wars, all new ships, so that was probably pretty exciting. The stars are very blue on this one. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but something I noticed. But yeah, that's pretty much it. In 9th place, we have Return of the Jedi. I'm not sure about this one. 3 movies in and they were already doing a throwback. It's not a great sign. I guess they thought they had to start with a Star Destroyer and there's only so many ways to film a Star Destroyer. But yeah, I would have liked something a little different. I suppose the Death Star looks very pretty here, as does the planet. The ships sound really cool, the ties and the shuttle. The great sound design there. So not completely worthless, but not great. In 8th place, we have Solo: A Star Wars Story, which it's weird even including because it does everything so differently to the others, starting with the lack of opening crawl. Obviously, Rogue One set the precedent there that Star Wars stories didn't have one, but Solo clearly needed one because it has all this exposition to give you and it's refusing to do it in the way that Star Wars movies give exposition. So we get it in a kind of continuation of the A Long Time Ago, and it just makes it clunky and, for me, a bit harder to read and digest all at one time. So that gets off to a weird start, and then you don't have the initial establishing wide shot of where he is until a little later. It actually starts with a little kind of montage sequence of him hotwiring a speeder, which is pretty cool. And then once he does get it going and we see him drive off, he drives over the camera and it pans up to look at the sky of Corellia, and we see the Star Destroyer under construction, which is such a cool way of honouring the series tradition of always including Star Destroyers, but keeping it ground level at the same time and making it faithful and unique to Han's origin on Corellia. I really like that. So yeah, there's some great ideas at play here. I don't love how it all comes together. I wish it didn't look so murky and muddy, but that goes for the whole film. Yeah, not the worst, but still not the best. In 7th place, we have The Last Jedi, and I'd like to apologise to my favourite Star Wars movie and to Rian Johnson for putting this so low down on the list. I really don't hate what this one is going for. I think it's a cool and unique idea, moving down through the ships very quickly. It gives this sense of a fast-paced, frantic, hectic evacuation, and the music really helps with that as well. I don't love the execution, really. It feels to me like it should go all the way down. It should move, from orbit to the atmosphere, to the planet's surface, rather than just cutting to a scene that is already on the surface. I don't know whether that would have taken too long or looked too fake, but it feels like that's what we're about to get, and then it doesn't really happen and we're just suddenly there. Ryan's original idea of seeing kind of a traditional opening, panning down past these ships and seeing what looks like a planet, and then that being revealed to be the dome of Finn's medical pod, that's something I really love. And he says that he really loves it as well, and that they cut it because getting right into the hectic, frantic, oh god, we've got to go thing was better for the pace. They're probably right, is the problem. It's just that in this context, if we're just talking about these initial moments that overall don't matter too much to the film as a whole, I would have preferred something more memorable, and I think that Finn one is a real loss, probably one of my favourite deleted concepts from all of the films. In 6th place, we have The Empire Strikes Back. This one is very simple, but very good. The Yellow Words said that they were dispatching remote probes. Now we see it. It's cool to get a glimpse at this meticulous side of the Empire after their very action-packed introduction in the last movie. It makes them feel like a well-rounded force to be reckoned with. And there's a real sense in this one of it's the calm before the storm, and I think it achieves that more effectively than something like The Phantom Menace does. Not a huge amount to say about it, but thumbs up all round. In 5th place, we have Rogue One. This one also suffers a little bit from Star Wars story-itis, very definitively going, we're doing something different. You expect reading? No, we're going to jump scare you with movie. And I think I understand the desire to stand out. That's why I wear these shirts. But at the same time, it is jarring, that kind of suddenly movie is here. But then once the shot does happen, it's very cool. The triangle comes out at the top of the screen and it looks like a Star Destroyer, it's just a grey triangle right at the top, and then you're like, oh, what's this? I know what to expect here, this is Star Wars, and then, what? It's a ring of a planet, and there's a ship through that ring, and it's Krennic. Yeah, that's really good stuff, and I have to say, even with the jarring opening, I really appreciate doing that. It's what you expect, but with a little twist on it, which is like Rogue One, you expect it to be good, and then they put a little twist on that, don't they? That just feels mean. That's not in the spirit of things, is it? We don't need to focus on that kind of thing here. Thank you very much. This one is very clever, and I like it, and that's why it makes the top 5. In 4th place, we have Attack of the Clones. Now, I rewatched all of these opening scenes in release order to prepare for this ranking, and let me tell you, I gasped when I got to this one, and it panned up from the stars instead of down. I think that's just such a cool and unique spin to put on it, having Coruscant emerge from the top rather than a planet being seen at the bottom. Just what an interesting thing to go, hey, you know how we usually do it? Let's do that upside down. Great. Then they hit you with the triple whammy of the 3 best designs from the previous movie. You get a chrome Naboo ship, you get Coruscant, and you get the N1 starfighters, and they all look and sound beautiful. This is wonderful, graceful stuff, and it shows the value of having a bit of style, because on paper, Padme Goes to Coruscant is a lot less interesting and exciting than a lot of these openings, but it's ranked higher because it's better. In 3rd place, we have The Force Awakens. I love this one so much. At the time, this opening shot was obviously fuel for the "this is just a new hope again" fire, but that always to me seemed more like an exercise in writing bullet points than it was an actual good review of an emotional experience. This is just such a fantastic visual. The way it plays with scale is so impressive. The visual metaphor is effective and obvious. Not obvious in a, oh, come on, but obvious in a, oh yeah, great, I get what's happening here. There's light. It's being snuffed out by the darkness, by the First Order. I remember someone pointing out that just as the Star Destroyer is covering the planet completely and snuffing out all the light, the next source of light comes from the ships coming around and flying to the surface. And on those ships is Finn. So he is the kind of spark of light. He prevents it from fully extinguishing the light, which I think is very nice, very effective, very good. I said there were only so many ways to film a Star Destroyer, but this one makes the concept feel fresher than ever. So yeah, all round, thumbs up. In second place, we have Revenge of the Sith. Now, I'm not someone who considers this to be an all-time great Star Wars movie, but I can't argue that this opening is pretty phenomenal. I think even before it goes absolutely nuts, it's this wonderful, beautiful aerial shot of this Star Destroyer over Coruscant, lit by this wonderful sunset, and then it goes absolutely nuts. We get 2 lone Jedi interceptors that look awesome, by the way, flying in perfect unison with one another, and then crossing over that ridge and seeing just absolute chaos and destruction underneath them. The most war that Star Wars has ever been. Just such an impressive spectacle. Just this all-encompassing, overwhelming battle that we're seeing play out before us. We see them weave through it all in one continuous shot, by the way. And it looks really cool and really great, and it's such a fantastic way to start and to show the Clone Wars that they've been building up to for all this time. I think, in my opinion, it maybe goes on a little too long in its big CGI indulgence, but at the same time, if you're able to bring something like this to the screen, maybe you're allowed to be just a little bit indulgent. In first place is A New Hope, because of course it's the best one. It's perfect, simple visual storytelling. It's immediately engaging and exciting. You understand what's going on as soon as you see it. The small ship is good, the big ship is bad, and both ships look fantastic. The Star Destroyer is just this perfect, imposing presence. We understand it completely. There's no colour at all. It's just grey and scary and horrible. And then there's the Tantive 4, which looks simultaneously sleek and elegant and beautiful, but beaten up and part of this lived-in world that we're establishing. It's just, I think the Tantive 4 might be my favourite of all the Star Wars ship designs. I mean, just look at this. Look at that. A fun fact about that Lego ship is that it actually came free with the £120 Lego Bail Organa set I bought, so that's even more of a bonus. But this opening scene was a way for this technical marvel of a project to flex just how good it is right at the start. There's no ambiguity here about what you're watching. This is an incredible experience, and watching it in the cinema is just transcendent. The music, the sound effects, the everything, the matte painting at the bottom, just great stuff. This is the best. This is what it's all about. That's Star Wars, everybody. I'll see you next time. No, let's wrap it all up. So here's my ranking. You can have it in a tier list form if you want, like I'm some sort of YouTuber. I guess the criteria for what makes a good one emerged quite naturally there. It just has to have a good idea and do it well. Or I suppose a boring idea and do it well. Don't take my choices too seriously. It's all just a bit of fun. I don't think these scenes ever really have much of a bearing on the quality of the film overall. It's just nice if something can get off to a very good start. And a lot of them, to be honest, do. I would love to know what your favourites are and how they differ from mine. Maybe this isn't something that a normal person has given any thought to, but I would love to hear it in the comments, because I've had a lot of fun thinking about it and talking about it. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. I'm working on some more complicated videos at the moment, so I thought I'd put out something quick and light in the meantime. Please like this video and subscribe if you had any fun, or if you didn't, the next one might be better. That's all for now. I'll see you soon. Love you lots.